Welcome to everybody turning in into this historic event. I'm Julia Terkovic and I will be your host for this evening. In the next hour, we have an exciting program lineup for you to celebrate the launch of the Brussels School of Governance. Internally, some of us are referring to this launch as a marriage between the Institute for European Studies and Vesalius College. During this event, you will find out why. We are honored to have the Belgian Prime Minister, Alexander De Croo, and the Rector of the VUB, Caroline Pauwels, speaking at our event today. But first, let's start with an official welcome from the President of the Brussels School of Governance, Karel de Gucht.
Dear students, Mr. Prime Minister, Madam Rector, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks a historic moment for the VUB community. IES, the Institute for European Studies, and VICO, the Vesalius College, joined forces to form together the Brussels School of Governance. And I'm happy and proud, as the president of this alliance, this marriage, as Ordine likes to call it, to welcome you at this official launch. We had hoped that we could celebrate this with you in person and have after the speeches a dazzling party. But COVID has decided otherwise and we could no longer wait. Because it is high time, and in fact long overdue, that Brussels, as second biggest diplomatic and policy hub worldwide, has its proper public policy school. The presentations that will follow my short introduction will make perfectly clear what we are aiming at. But I would like to stress the unique feature of the Brussels School of Governance that combines teaching with cutting-edge research in those areas that matter for our times: sustainability, circular economy and the energy transition, migration, European security and defense, the liberal world order confronting great power competition, how to preserve individual freedoms in a society dominated by data and artificial intelligence, and the future of democracy challenged by an alternative vision of decision-making and statehood. And let me stress our focus on outreach, benefiting from our broad network spanning from Brussels to Washington, to Tokyo and Seoul, just to name a few. We want the world to know what we are doing, because what is driving us is our belief in a better world and our conviction that education and knowledge is an ever more important cornerstone in aiming at that goal and eventually reaching it. Thank you, and I wish good luck to the happy marriage between IES and VICO. May it last long and may the Brussels School of Governance be blessed with numerous offspring. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our President, Karel de Gucht, for welcoming our audience and officially kicking off this launch event. We weren't sure how many people were already aware of the Brussels School of Governance, or in short, the BSOG. So we took our team to the VUB campus to ask if they knew what our acronym, BSOG, meant to them.
We were wondering if you would know what BSOG stands for?
No.
No idea.
I don't. What does it mean?
I think it was a rapper in the 90s or something.
No, I don't know.
Absolutely not.
I have no idea, no.
I have no idea.
Something with social science?
Nee, I haven't heard about it yet, so I got no idea.
No.
Not really.
The Beer Society of Germany?
No.
I have no idea, sorry.
No, I don't know.
To help students in work after graduating from university, something like this.
I have no clue. Absolutely not.
As you can see, we clearly had to have this launch event today to let the world know that we are here. The BSOG has been a while in the making. It didn't just happen overnight. So to the people of Vesalius College and the Institute for European Studies, the BSOG already means plenty. Let's take a look at what they had to say to the very same question.
What does BSOG mean to me? Well, it means brilliantly, superbly outstanding gang, of course. BSOG.
For me, the Brussels School of Governance is a great place to be. You are placed in Brussels, the capital of Europe. You can engage with interested students and you can do joint research with colleagues coming from over 40 countries or so.
I study military alliances, and the alliance between the IES and Vesalius College makes great sense.
The Brussels School of Governance should prepare future policymakers who have developed the capacity to question what is considered normal and usual in current day policies, policies that seem not able to resolve the burning societal issues of today, and this with one main objective: a just future for all.
What does the BSOG mean to me? Best sandwiches outside of Gloucester? No, it's about bold science on the ground, bringing together teachers, researchers and students to understand how governance actually works in Brussels and beyond.
I'm very much looking forward to advancing our understanding of the climate and sustainability transition to help govern this transition in Europe and beyond at the Brussels School of Governance.
To me, the opening of the Brussels School invokes a lot of feelings. First of all, pride, but also confidence, because the school is the emanation of many years of work, not only by those that blueprinted it, but also by the researchers, the many researchers, and the many secretariat staff that each in their institution have brought these two wedding institutions at the place where they're now. And they'll see to it that the new school will become something that is much more than the mere sum of its two components. Humility also, because at this point in time I think it's appropriate to pay tribute to the visionary men and women that created Vesalius College and the Institute for European Studies a few years later. So I think back to the former presidents, the former deans, the former academic directors, the many program directors, department heads, former and current research and secretariat staff, because they all have in their way contributed to the creation of this new school. Finally, joy, of course. Remember the news just a couple of days ago when there was this rare spotting of a snow owl in New York. That's no coincidence, of course. It's proof that our marketing works. And I'm glad that we chose the owl as a logo. The owl not only symbolizes wisdom, it's also a strong and beautiful animal. That's not to say that we're also strong, and definitely not to say that we're so beautiful, but the school is. And it's a school. I also know that the word school comes from ancient Greek, meaning leisure time. And that's exactly how it should feel like. Despite the hard work, our efforts should feel as enjoyable as leisure time, a fun place to work. After all, even owls can be funny too.
Thank you, Anthony and colleagues, for showing us what BSOG means to you. Let's hope that after this event, many more people will feel this way. So how have Vesalius College and the Institute for European Studies grown towards this new Brussels School of Governance in the first place? Let's take a trip down memory lane with Jacinta and Edgar, who will tell us all about it.
Good morning, Edgar.
Hello, Jacinta. So, what are we doing today?
So, we got asked to prepare a little dialogue for the launch of our new school. And I was thinking that we could sit together and I could pick your brain a bit.
Oh, that's great. Maybe we could go over a few important milestones of our institutions.
Yes, we can establish a timeline and then we can zoom in on some key points in our history. That's a good idea. I like it. Yeah.
Let's see. It all began on October 4 in 1830 when the great nation...
Yeah, Edgar, maybe we shouldn't go all the way back. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So at what point do you see as the start of our story together? Maybe 1986?
Yes, that is actually when the VUB decided to set up an English language university, together with the Boston University's Metropolitan College. And that was the birth of Vesalius College.
Practically unthinkable now, but Vesalius organized the very first English-speaking program in cooperation with the VUB. Even then, we were pioneers.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so how detailed do we want to be here? We can mention, for instance, Frans Bingen being appointed as dean, or the first graduating class in 1991, Maybe we can say something about the Koens decree on higher education in 1993, when suddenly VECO faced the problem of its degrees not being recognized in Flanders anymore. And I don't know if you know it, but this situation only was resolved in like 10 years later.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, and do you know Franz Bingen and his wife Andre, they are still very active with the VECO community?
Yeah.
Actually, they have a fund for Vesalius students, and every year there's a winner for the Honor Essay Prize. Of course, last year they have to deliver the prize via Skype. Yeah. We know why. But I agree with you. Maybe we should keep it short and snappy. Yeah. So we have to talk about VECO moving to its first home in Triomfland. Yeah. And of course, the most crucial event of all,
the dog. Santa was the first Vesalius office dog, and it was a border collie that many staff members will vividly remember and have fond memories of.
Moving on, we have 2000, and this is when the Flemish government issued a decree that would mark the official founding of the Institute for European Studies 1 year later.
Yes, and we can provide additional information on the IS founding. For instance, the fact that in the first few weeks it only existed on paper, and it had a total staff of 2 people, Bart de Schutter and Anthony Antoine, and they were tasked to recruit academic personnel. They didn't even have an office first, and that had to wait until the end of the year.
Oh, I see. Oh, but listen to this. This is also really interesting. The initial plan was to build a research institute around the then 30-year-old Peel program. Yeah. It took the VUB a really long time to decide where the new institute would be hosted, in the law faculty or the ES faculty. That is why the official starting date of the IES, according to the decree, is January 2001, whereas the institute only formally started on January 1st, 2002.
Yeah.
And the good thing, or the irony maybe, is that so many years later the IES is neither embedded in the law faculty nor the ES faculty, in both the PILC and the Euromaster programs.
Yeah, maybe that's a bit too much. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Probably we can start speaking about locations. Maybe we can speak a little bit about IES getting offices at the Schumsland and Triomfland, making IES and VECO neighbors for the first time in 2003.
Yes, exactly. And when you think of it, the forming of our alliance can actually be traced back to multiple times where our institutes moved locations, and basically we ended up working together as neighbors. So by chance or by fate, us joining forces sooner or later can be considered as inevitable.
Yes, and there are so many historic fairs that took place in the first decade of the century, like the first inter-university summer school, VECO's 3-year bachelor's degree kicking off, and of course the first EUIA conference in 2008.
Yes, and the start of VECO's master program, our simultaneous move to our current location here at Penland 5. And 2012 is a very important year because the IES celebrated 40 years of PILC, 10 years of Euromaster, and Vesalius had its 25th anniversary. Yes, and there were large on-campus events such as the 24-hour charity run around the Cultuurcafé.
Oh, charity run.
Yeah,
I think we should do that again.
Yeah, if the run takes place around the bar and we can actually sit inside the bar, then I'm sure that many people will love it. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of beer, the Vesalius.
Vesalius. Yes, indeed.
The Vesalius, that's the name of the beer which the students made in 2017 during the VECO Business Beer Summer Course.
Yes, that was also the year of VECO's 30th anniversary.
I thought we were only going to focus on important facts.
But the 30th anniversary is important.
Anyway, maybe we should wrap things up by mentioning 2019, the year in which VECO and IES began restructuring secretariat staff and decided to join hands. And that wise decision is what bore the fruit for our event today, in which we officially announced this exciting alliance under a new name.
Yes, the Brussels School of Governance. In name of everyone involved at Vesalius College and the Institute for European Studies, we are very happy and proud to share these moments with you. And we plan to continue our great journey on the path of knowledge and progress for many years to come.
Same here, Jacinta. Congrats to the future.
As Jacinta and Edgar showed us, both institutes have built a rich history before they decided to create the BSOG Alliance. This was, of course, only possible thanks to the thousands of people working and studying at the IES and VICO over the years. They have laid down the foundations for today's next step, and we are grateful for every one of them. One VUB alumnus who has experienced policy making firsthand is the Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo. With the ongoing pandemic, which has been a challenge for everybody, let's hear what his vision is on how to govern a society in a time of crisis.
Dear students, dear members of the academic community, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to address my alma mater today, to celebrate with you the launch of the Brussels School of Governance. Let me, first of all, congratulate you with this wonderful initiative. Brussels is the capital of Flanders, the capital of Belgium, and the European Union. We are the host city of NATO and uncountable other international organizations. So the Brussels School of Governance doesn't come a day too soon. We are now ready to become an academic point of reference for public policy. It's quite impressive to launch a new school in the middle of a pandemic, but it is the right thing to do. It shows courage and vision. Never waste a good crisis, they say. And your can-do spirit is exactly what we need right now. Which brings me to the central question I was asked to speak about today. How to govern in a time of crisis. In answer to your question, I have 3 messages. Build a team, build a strategy, and always be transparent. First of all, build a team. Nobody owns the truth. The best results are achieved when each member of a group brings her or his best asset to the table. The COVID crisis is a good example of that. We were attacked by a new virus. In the beginning, even virologists didn't know how lethal or how contagious it was. But we managed to map the genome of the virus in a record time. Within a year, 3 vaccines are in production and 3 more are on the way. It was a cooperation on global scale between nations, between universities and private companies, between the public and the private sector, with R&D in one country and production in another. It is exactly this kind of all-encompassing cooperation you need in times of crisis. By bringing people together from different backgrounds, with different skills, with different walks of life. People with academic experience and life experience. Risk takers and risk-averse people, people from the city and people from the countryside, black and white, gay and straight, women and men and non-binary people. Because diverse teams are smarter teams. Because opposing ideas don't cancel each other out, they strengthen each other. It is important to be challenged in life. It makes you smarter and stronger. It obliges you to review your preconceived notions of what's right and what's wrong. Diversity is the way through which robust solutions are being built. It is the stuff good compromises are made of. Not by aiming for the lowest common denominator, but by combining the best of different worlds. Whether in Belgium, in the European Council, or in the United Nations. Compromise is not a dirty word. It's a secret power that moves the world forward. And once you have a solid team, you have to put it to work. That's my second message today. The team has to build a strategy, the bigger framework in which all your actions fit and make sense. Strategy creates predictability, perspective, and simplicity. 3 things that are on the complete opposite of what a crisis is. A crisis brings chaos, unpredictability, and adds uncertainty. Because it is in the loss of control that people get scared during a crisis. Let me use another example than the pandemic to illustrate this. The refugee crisis of 2015. The main problem was not the arrival of refugees as such. Europe is the richest continent in the world. Wir schaffen das, like Chancellor Merkel said. The reason we had a refugee crisis was because policymakers and politicians lost control. The refugees arrived and we had no plan, no strategy. Only chaos at the borders. First at our external borders, later within Schengen. That was the real crisis. the feeling that we were no longer in charge of our territory. That event dictated us and no one was driving the bus. The strategy based on values is the only way out of such a crisis. These values will ground you and will guide you in the midst of a chaos. But perhaps even more so, these values remind you of the fact that every crisis is also an opportunity to build something better, to build back better. In the COVID crisis, the values and principles we outlined were the following: protecting our healthcare systems and preventing it from collapsing. 2, recognize the link between keeping people healthy and keeping the economy healthy. The better we protect people from the virus, the better we prevent our economy from shrinking. And lastly, we wanted to give people the maximum amount of freedom by taking into account the virological impact of human behavior and of our measures. Every single measure the government took can be explained by these 3 principles, and it guided us throughout the difficult months of the second wave. The strategy also helps you to communicate effectively during a crisis. And that's my 3rd message. Always be transparent in your communication. Reality is messy. New information is coming in all the time. You have to recalibrate continuously while maintaining public support. The only way to do this successfully is by being transparent about your reasoning and about your motivation. Whether we are talking about COVID measures or bailing out banks during a financial crisis or welcoming refugees. Honesty and transparency is the only sustainable policy. Because in times of crisis, you need to build trust. People will recognize your honesty, will trust you, and will follow your lead. Ladies and gentlemen, a country cannot have enough young people who are willing to use their energy for the common good. That is why I am so enthusiastic about the creation of the Brussels School of Governance. Because we need young people who want to use their privilege of education to a better society as a whole, to further the cause of others by being empathic and driven by the public interest. That's perhaps the hardest part of good governing, not being wrapped up in the day-to-day business of it all, remaining aware that your actions have a profound impact on the lives of others, to take sufficient time to pause, stop, and reflect. It sounds easier than it is. The decision to close our borders with the UK days before Christmas is a good example of that. It was the right thing to do from a health perspective. It fitted our strategy, our values. We wanted to act fast because time mattered. But the consequence was that thousands of truckers were stuck without sanitary facilities. That was unacceptable, but we initially missed that human aspect. I learned again that reality is often messier than the theory. But you cannot govern well without the theory. It is the very start of it all. It is what this new school is all about. That is why I am a proud alumnus of the University of Brussels. My warmest congratulations to Rector Caroline Pauwels, to President Carolyn, to the faculty and staff of the school. And good luck, of course, to all of the students. I know these are not easy times for you, but we count on you, on your ideas, on your energy to move the world forward. And always remember, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
And following these encouraging words of Mr. De Croo, let's move on to Harry, who will talk about some of the unique aspects of the BSOG educational offering.
In the field of education, all our school's programs have a number of important things in common. First of all, our programs are student-centered. They provide each individual student with a truly personalized learning experience. As our entire student population is very international and diverse, this personalized approach is important. We deliberately keep class sizes small so that strong connections can be built between the students and between the students and the professors. A recent example of this personalized experience is the virtual student community that we set up this academic year. It allows our students to build connections even in times of distance learning. Secondly, our programs are theory-guided. All our education programs provide the students with the state-of-the-art knowledge about the specific fields that they're studying. A third characteristic is that the school ensures educational excellence. We offer authentic learning experiences to provide you with the necessary knowledge, the opportunity to develop the skills and attitudes needed in a wide variety of professional contexts. A fourth element is that we actively bring the practice into our classrooms. Our students are taught not only by experienced academics, but also by practitioners from the highest levels of the Brussels policy community. For example, in the LLM program, of which I have the privilege of being the program director, our teaching staff includes a former commissioner, the IAS President Karl de Gucht, and a head of cabinet, Professor Ben Smulders. We actively work on the students' future beyond just diplomas by providing the graduate also assistance with their careers after the studies. All of our programs are fully accredited and are built on the strong foundations of leading policy-driven interdisciplinary research activities. Now, zooming in on our educational portfolio, there are two practical elements to highlight. First of all, our portfolio is 100% taught in English. Secondly, it includes daytime, evening, blended, as well as online programs. On the BA level, we have three programs: Global Business and Entrepreneurship, International Affairs, and International and European Law. We also have a BA Prep program. A particularly interesting feature of our BAs is our long-standing study abroad program. We welcome every year students from across the globe for a semester as incoming study abroad students, but also send our students from our programs abroad for an unforgettable outgoing study abroad experience. Moreover, we offer high-level internship opportunities. On the MA level, we have two programs that are closely linked, one in global security and strategy, the other in diplomacy and global governance. These programs focus on some of the biggest current global issues. On the MA level, too, we offer a prep program. On the postgraduate level, our offering consists of an LLM in International and European Law, the PILC, which has been a top-notch offer for close to half a century. Our Advanced Master in European Integration, the Euromaster, is an evening program that is tailored for students and professionals with specializations along the research themes of our school: the environment, economy, migration, and security. Finally, we offer a number of certificate programs as well as an undergraduate summer program, a summer school, and a winter school. The diplomas in each of our programs continue to be awarded either by the Vesalius College or by the VUB. Now, I'd also like to say a few words about educational innovation. Unlike many other schools and universities where innovation is dealt with by a central team, IT or other, our school has a dedicated Office for Teaching and Learning Innovation, OTLI. OTLI is a driving force behind our innovative activities. In the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak last spring, for example, OTLI helped ensure that the sudden transition to online and blended teaching went almost seamlessly. Together, OTLI and the teaching programs managed to maintain the academic and technical side of things running. OTLI continues to provide cutting-edge guidance and training to our professors across the years. Based on student participation and feedback about what our educational model should look like in the future, we have also developed an online student community. Now, we believe that our school is ready for the education of the future, and we want to pass a clear message to our current and future students. No matter what type of learning experience you will have with us, face-to-face, blended or online, it will always be personal, flexible, and of high quality. Welcome on board.
So, if you are interested in becoming one of our students, you should know that we are organizing for each of our programs an interactive virtual information session. As you can see on the overview here, they are taking place in the next couple of weeks. So make sure to check out our website to register for one or more of this session and for further information. The BSOG is, of course, not only about education. Our educational activities go hand in hand with a very strong research focus. And now Trisha will explain how our research can help policymakers tackle the many challenges that they are facing in today's complex world.
At the start of 2021, it seems as if both Europe and the wider world are on a multi-year roller coaster. The UK now formally left the EU and its single market, an angry mob stormed the US Capitol, and a global pandemic has forced the world into lockdown. What is going on, you might ask, and are we able to cope with such disruptive events? If anything, our present predicament highlights that the quality of government matters a lot, whether it be at national, European, or international level. That is precisely what we focus on at the Brussels School of Governance. The ongoing pandemic is putting the European Union, other international organizations, and their constitutive member states at a hard test. Can they adequately provide for the health and safety of their citizens? At the same time, this is far from the only challenge policymakers face. Think about the impact of the digitalization of our society, the transformation of our economic model to make it ecologically sustainable, migration and the associated issues of social inclusion, and the safeguarding of the freedom and security of our citizens in an increasingly tumultuous world. What these challenges have in common is that they require the new generation of policymakers to be better informed, on the basis of solid, multidisciplinary, and science-based policy advice. And that is exactly what we have to offer in our research portfolio and educational programs. We organize our work into research centers that focus on the most urgent governance challenges confronting policymakers in Europe and elsewhere in the world in years to come. The first center I would like to tell you about is the Digitalization, Democracy, and Innovation Center, which is the center that I direct. Our research focuses on the ongoing digital transformation of society. Our team in the center critically examines the evolution of the new digital modes of governance from an interdisciplinary perspective, in particular multi-stakeholder and democratic processes that involve private, public, and civil society actors, whilst paying attention to issues of power and participation. Then we have our Environment, Economy, and Energy Center. The center analyzes and develops innovative legal and policy instruments that can be used to govern the environmental, economic, and energy transitions within the EU and in its external relations. We focus in particular on the international and European governance of these transitions and their interactions. A third center I would like to introduce is the Migration, Diversity, and Justice Center. It focuses on the multi-level governance and politics of migration, justice and home affairs, immigrant integration, diversity, and equality. This team also constitutes the backbone of the VUB's Interdisciplinary Research Center on Migration and Minorities, which brings together more than 100 researchers from 11 disciplines. Last but not least, we have our Center on Security, Diplomacy, and Strategy. This team focuses on geostrategic competition and its impact on Europe, with particular attention to the transatlantic relation and the wider Indo-Pacific region. Through the prism of diplomacy and defense policy, the center explores the hardest issues of statecraft. The center is also home to a Korea chair and a Japan program, making it also a hub for analysis of geopolitical and security dynamics in East Asia. We do not perform research for the sake of research. Both the Institute for European Studies and Vesalius College have built up a strong reputation in producing high-quality academic output. We publish our findings in leading international journals, we organize and contribute to academic and policy conferences, we are regularly asked for our expertise by national governments, European institutions, and other international organizations. This is also why we have our own series of policy briefs. This allows us to make our latest policy insights freely available to the wider world, courtesy of the Flemish government prioritizing open science. Our location in Brussels is of course a tremendous help for us in reaching these governments and institutions. Research is not only about books, databases, fieldwork, papers, and publications. It's also about people getting to know each other. Our school is home to more than 100 academic staff from different backgrounds and nationalities, from PhD students to postdoctoral researchers, project staff, and professors. This diversity is something I have always particularly enjoyed and considered an asset that enriches my work. As we welcome scholars from all over the world, we study not only European integration and international affairs, we experience what this interconnectedness means on a daily basis.
Thank you, Tricia. And if you want to know more about our concrete research activities, make sure to tune in between the 26th and 28th of May for our EU in International Affairs, EUIA, virtual conference, or any other of our forthcoming events and research activities. Our research centers are organizing several events this year. They will not only address a specific research topic, but they will also present their team and activities. You can see here a number of these events, but I would invite you to check out our school's new website and social media channels for more details. I now have the pleasure of introducing you to Caroline Pauwels, the Rector of the VUB.
Dear guests, students, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. The European project, much like the world itself, has always been somewhat like a construction site, a place where things keep on moving and eventually progress over time. In the words of Jean Monnet, European unity is important, not because it is a new great power, but because the institutional method it introduces to European politics is permanently modifying the relations between nations and man. Nous ne coalisons pas des États, nous unissons des hommes. Monnet labeled this the process of civilization itself. As goes Europe and the world, so goes the VUB. I am delighted to join you here in this ceremony, making the start of our new Brussels School of Governance, a marriage, so to speak, between our Institute for European Studies and Vesalius College. To paraphrase Jean Monnet, nous ne coalisons pas des instituts, nous unissons des hommes et des femmes. People, they are what matters the most at our university. Everyone has a unique contribution to make to our endeavor. And that is why this new school, bringing together over 200 staff and 450 students, matters. It provides our university with critical mass to take European studies and international governance to the next level. Let me take this opportunity to share with you some thoughts on the rationale of this new school and on the societal relevance it has. In moving forward, we always continue a trajectory that has already started. Both Vesalius College and the Institute for European Studies share a path of spearheading our internationalization efforts. Vesalius was co-founded in 1986 by VUB and Boston University as a Belgian-American cosmopolitan liberal arts college. Through Vesalius, we were able to offer English-taught programs decades before this became an integral part of higher education in Belgium. In turn, the Institute for European Studies was established in 2001 in order to bring together all EU-related expertise at VUB, breaking down the boundaries across faculties and departments. During the years that I served on the board of the IES, I realized how much more could be achieved by joining forces. That is why I asked Luc Soete at the beginning of my rectorship to author a report on the possibilities of strengthening the ties between both institutes, and the rest, as they say, is history. It is this international pioneering spirit that we seek to strengthen via the Brussels School of Governance. The VUB wants to be a truly international university that acts as a hub for different transnational networks. We also want to be a university that connects to its local environment, which includes the dense diplomatic network that Brussels is proud to host. What better way of doing so than by creating a school of governance that offers excellent scholarship, applied policy analysis, and multidisciplinary teaching in small classrooms. A school that truly embodies the spirit of Europeanization and internationalization itself. In the ever-changing landscape of higher education, the Brussels School of Governance is part of the VUB's answer to the challenge of aiming higher. Together with our engagement in the European University Alliance Network Utopia and our collaboration with the United Nations University in Bruges. Yet, there is more than an institutional logic to all of this. The school portfolio, as was presented by Trisha and Harry, matters in terms of societal relevance. The multilateral system on which the European construction is founded is coping with severe headwinds. The values of liberal democracy and the rule of law are being contested. National populism and autocracy are on the rise. Meanwhile, technological disruption is changing political and economic life as we know it. 2021 also marks the year in which the UK has fully left the EU, perhaps the most visible sign of European disintegration so far. Yet, dramatic as these developments may seem, times like these are not unprecedented. As a student, John F. Kennedy wrote his Harvard University thesis on the question why England slept. It examined the policy of appeasement during the 1930s, the period just before the European continent lived through its darkest years. Yet, less than 20 years on, people like Schuman, Spaak and Adenauer, with the support of American friends and the Marshall Plan, started laying the foundation for an alternative European order. This reminds us that historical change tends to surprise us, both positively and negatively. Our new Brussels school therefore needs to ensure that our societies do not go to sleep, but rather address today's challenges head-on. Conquering darkness by science, that is what we do at VUB. This emphasis on the societal relevance reminds us why we need a School of Governance. We need it not to grow our publication output or to update our educational curricula, or to pursue administrative efficiency. These are merely secondary objectives. At the most elementary level, we need to bear in mind that the quality of government makes a dramatic difference in the lives of each of us. Governance problems need to be studied and governance skills need to be instructed. This is the most fundamental response to the challenges we face today, not just to come up with solutions, but also, importantly, to train the next generation of policymakers to ensure that the construction site we all inhabit continues to progress. Ladies and gentlemen, on a formal occasion like today, I would like to thank everyone who made this accomplishment possible. First and foremost, Presidents Karel de Gucht and Freddy van den Spiegel, who proved determined to see the integration succeed. Second, the team of the school. I have already mentioned the critical role played by Luc Soete. Whilst Luc has served as the principal architect of the school, the fact we are here today is the product of the hard work of the entire team. So, my congratulations and gratitude to all of you. Thirdly, I want to cherish the support of our different stakeholders, most notably our student body and the Flemish Ministry of Education. A school without students wouldn't be a school, of course. They constantly remind us what a beautiful profession we have chosen. Through its continued support for the Institute for European Studies, the Flemish Ministry of Education is enabling the Brussels School of Governance to thrive. This also makes sure that European studies will continue to feature prominently in the VUB's curriculum, as stipulated in the governance agreement we have just concluded. Let me wrap up. Only a few weeks from now we will mark the 1-year anniversary of our sudden switch to an all-digital university. It has not been an easy year, and today we are still operating online. Yet, this virtual launch also showcases our remarkable resilience. The slogan, #WeAreVUB, has arguably never been as real, as meaningful as today. I am therefore delighted that the Brussels School of Governance is now joining our big VUB family. I am proud of all of you and look forward to seeing you again in real life as soon as possible.
Thank you for these insightful words, Rector Pauwels. Before moving on to our last and final speakers and concluding this event, we want to show to you our brand new website. It offers an overview of the programs you can study at the BSOG, of our research centers and their activities, of the rich human potential we have on board. It also contains the various output we produce, including events, publication, media appearances, and other recent and upcoming initiatives. It's almost time for this launch event to come to an end, but not without a final word from our Dean, Luc Soete, with a little surprise at the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring the launch of the Brussels School of Governance to an end. In our invitation, we hinted at a wedding theme to describe this event, a wedding between the Institute for European Studies and Vesalius College. Of course, a wedding might be a somewhat too far-fetched and respected notion to describe the way in which the Institute for European Studies and Vesalius College intend to join forces to form the new Brussels School of Governance. A partnership might be a better term, a partnership of two, at the outset, very different institutions. On the one hand, a 20-year-old public higher education and research institution providing academic research, postgraduate education, PhD supervision, and policy advice on all aspects of European integration. The location of the Institute for European Studies at the Vrije Universiteit Brussel, at the VUB, was obvious given the presence in Brussels of so many international institutions and of course the European Union. It became part of the VUB, though, with a high degree of functional autonomy. And over the years, and as somebody who has been totally external to these developments, I'm allowed to say this, it developed a strong reputation for critical, evidence-based policy research and policy advice, as well as through influential postgraduate teaching programs such as the LLM in International and European Law and the Advanced Master in European Integration. The other partner, Vesalius College, is a 34-year-old, private, not-for-profit higher education institution. The oldest one actually in Belgium, delivering English-taught education in liberal arts, including economics and management at bachelor and master level. All degrees which are duly accredited by the Dutch-Flemish Accreditation Agency and which have been, because of their student-centered focus, highly appreciated by numerous alumni from Vesalius College. In short, two very complementary partners, working as one team together under the new Brussels School of Governance logo. They intend to make a difference in research here in Brussels. In research, Trisha Meyer told us already, with the birth over the next coming months of 4 new research centers. In education, with the streamlining of the VECO and IES bachelor and master educational programs, building on the strength and educational student-centered approach of both partners. To organize all this, I'm particularly lucky to have been joined by 2 highly talented young Vice Deans, Professor Alexander Matelaar, Vice Dean of Research, and Professor Sven van Kerkhoven, Vice Dean of Education. And I'm delighted to give them the floor now. Thank you.
There you are, my dear.
Good morning, Sven.
Good morning, Alexander. Inderdaad, ik ga die nog niet stil zijn, hè? Let's see. Finally, I was already afraid that you wouldn't make it. Are you ready? Because once we're in front of the major, this is a done deal.
I think so, but I must confess, I am a bit nervous.
We shouldn't be nervous. I mean, we've been courting for quite a while, so I think we were able to get to know each other rather well. Did you bring the rings?
I've got the rings, Do you have the passports?
I brought the passports for international travel. Did you bring the prenuptial agreement?
Yes, I went to see the notary this morning, and I've got everything sorted out on that front. So the deal is pretty simple. We agree to form one common household. We keep separate bank accounts, and if anything goes wrong, we blame the bank.
That sounds perfect. It also allows us to each engage in our own ventures without jeopardizing our own identity.
Good, sounds like a plan. So, shall we go through our vows one last time?
With pleasure.
All right. Dear Sven, would you care to be my college in good times and bad times?
Bad times, you mean like when all teaching has to all of a sudden move online, when all international mobility comes to a standstill, and when we have to pretend like Microsoft Teams will fill all the gaps? I think we've had our fair share of bad times. I'm just really looking forward to the good times.
That sounds bad enough for me.
So, Alexander, do you want to be my institute in good times and bad?
I do, Sven. Bad times, they're sort of interesting. Then again, creating this new school, it's sort of exciting.
It is. It's about time that Brussels gets its own school that focuses on these big international and European challenges, such as Brexit, or the corona pandemic, or even individual investors buying one stock. I think we have a nice future ahead of us.
Let's also not forget to thank our parent university, VUB, for making all of this happen.
Even though if you put it that way, it does sound a bit like an arranged wedding. I think that by now we've been able to get to know each other rather well.
Who could resist your charms, Sven? But there are so many issues to sort out. Theo, Kali, Raksweb.
Isn't that the case at the start of every marriage? I'm pretty sure that we can make this work, Alexander.
To constantly improve and never give up, we can do that.
Let's go, they're waiting for us.
All right.
What a great way to conclude our launch event. Make sure to keep an eye on our website and social media channels with many new developments to come. Thank you to all our speakers for joining us today, and a special thank you to our Prime Minister Alexander De Croo and VUB Rector Caroline Pauwels. We would also like to thank the Flemish government and all our partners with whom we have developed such an excellent relationship over the years. And last but not least, our gratitude goes out to our students and alumni, and to you, our audience, for having celebrated with us this historic moment. We are looking forward to start this new journey together.